We all like to exaggerate events of the past. Now imagine if one story was exaggerated repeatedly from generation to generation for thousands of years. What do we get in the end? We get the story of assassins, a mysterious order, which spawned dozens of games and hundreds of myths. What were these ancient mercenaries really like? And were they as elusive as we think? How true to the facts are the games? And are assassins related to the Templars? All that will be covered in the next couple of minutes, when we become a mysterious warrior from the past for a day. Meet Muhammad Salah and his new home, the Fortress Alamut. The year is 1100 AD, and Muhammad's fortress is located 100 kilometers northwest from the modern capital of Iran. That is the location where the legendary Order of Assassins was based. The reasoning behind its founding were fundamental disagreements between followers of Islam. Long story short, the Sunni only acknowledge Prophet Muhammad and choose their leaders themselves, while the Shia honor both Muhammad and his cousin Ali. Their leader has to be from Ali's bloodline and be the successor of legendary ancestors. This is an important distinction. Later, they split into more groups, whose hate towards each other was sometimes worse than their hate towards Christians. Looking ahead, note that assassins, who were a branch of Shia, even allied with the Christian Crusaders to fight together against the Sunni. The first myth we will tackle is that assassins were a cult. No, friends. Better known as Nizari, assassins were a whole nation which existed from 1090 to 1256 and spread across an impressive area from Tajikistan to North Africa. Our Muhammad Salah was a subject of the ruler Hassan ibn Sabah, who will go down in history as the founder of the Assassins movement. Hassan was a smart dude who read the studies of Ismaili, who were another branch of Shia. He became a wandering prophet, which drew the attention of the Persian higher-up Nazim al-Muqah. Legend has it that they were friends. However, this has been debunked a while ago. Nevertheless, we only care about the fact that Nazim ordered to arrest Hassan, who turned out to be a smart one. Not only did he run away, but he also converted the fortress to his beliefs and ended up effortlessly capturing it without a single shot. And that's how the government of assassins was born. These were hard times, since there were only about 1,000 other people living in the fortress besides Muhammad Salah, which was pitiful compared to the other empires of the time. Fixing this situation is exactly what led to the widespread of assassins. Hassan had a simple idea in mind. Back then, all wars were the following. Two rich men argued, stood on opposite hills, and watched how their armies slaughtered each other. Hassan, sitting in Fortress Alamut, realized that if he killed the rich men, their armies would not fight, and his strategy worked perfectly. The only problem was getting new hires. Where could he possibly find such skillful killers? As you might have guessed, that's when our Muhammad Salah enters the stage. The word assassin itself is often misused. It was made up by the evil enemies of our guys, the Sunni, and many say that the word is related to hashish, a type of weed. They claim that the ruler Hassan drugged people until they fell asleep. Then they would wake up in a room with wine and women, which was basically paradise on earth. The future assassin feasted and got drugged again. Upon waking up, they saw Hassan, who told them that this was a demo version of paradise, and in order to get there, the assassin had to obey his orders. Don't get jealous of our Salah. This is all propaganda lies. Sunnis profited from making Shias seem like crazy drug addicts, but excavations done in Alamut deny there ever being a paradise simulation room. The modern word assassin is derived from hashishin, which was offensive. The closest translation of it is a redneck. Our Muhammad Salah was more like a Spartan than a redneck. Hassan ibn Sabah recruited future assassins from poor families and tried to convert to his faith young, not fully developed minds. The only future for Salah was being a peasant, who never knew anything but a field and punishment from his master. Hassan offered him skills, education, and even promised heaven after death. It's not hard to imagine that the majority of these poor lads agreed without any demo versions of paradise. Legend has it that candidates stood in front of Alamut's gates for many days without food or water, while locals harassed them. Those who didn't break were recruited, while others simply left. This legend was also debunked. There was no need for a harsh selection, and there were tons of poor people trying to get their promised paradise. Among them was our Muhammad Salah. Their numbers led to assassins easily capturing one fortress after another. As a result, a whole new country was formed. The word about these killers spread far, and the ruler of Alamut, Hassan, got the nickname Old Man of the Mountain. Simply put, he was the first man to have an elite special force at his disposal. The members got excellent training. Ar-Salah spent years mastering Eastern martial arts. He could wield any weapon and even learnt performing arts in order to adjust to any target. Moreover, Muhammad, like every assassin, had a special region. Salah worked in Persia, which meant he also had to take an enhanced language course and know Persian traditions and ways of life in order to, when needed, seem like a local. Remember the Persian official Nizam al-Mulk, who tried to arrest the old man of the mountain Hassan? He hated the teachings of the assassins and loved the Sufi mystics. On October 14, 1092, after the evening namaz, local folks approached him. Among them were guys in costumes of his beloved Sufis. One of these guys was Muhammad, who sent Nizam regards in the form of a dagger to the heart. This is one of the milestone murders in the history of the assassins, which established them as guys with whom you shouldn't mess, despite their small numbers. The rulers of the surrounding countries started going to bed in their armor. They were so scared that they allowed only trusted servants to approach them. Moreover, the assassins invented racket and took payments from some officials in exchange for their safety. Now, let's go debunk some myths. While assassins might be masters of stealth, they were never masters of escape. In total, during the reign of the Old Man of the Mountain, he ordered to kill about 70 people, and more than 100 assassins gave their life for this. The operations themselves weren't that complicated. In the vast majority of cases, upon completing the mission, the assassins did not run away. Why would he? The job was done, which meant they have a personal paradise with wine and Horus ahead. Moreover, often assassins, who execute the orders of the old man, yelled his leader's will in frightening speeches, and very often that resulted in them being executed. This brought even more attention to assassins. The elusive killers who didn't care about their lives terrified even Europeans. However, after the death of their ruler and closer to the end of their existence, assassins began to work for hire, eliminating both the Christians and Islamists. So what's the similarity with the aforementioned Sparta? The similarity is that assassins followed asceticism. The Old Man of the Mountain taught followers to reject world's goods, lead a simple life, and not give in to the temptations. This alone shows that the hashish-loving theory isn't true. Actually, Hassan executed his own son for drinking wine. And how would an assassin remain cold-blooded while under the influence of hashish? The whole point was that assassins repeated the faith of the Prophet, lived simply, and after completing their mission, they got the promised paradise. Judging by the fact that even large empires respected these couple thousand guys, the scheme worked. It's important to understand that Hassan rarely killed for fun. Assassins did not touch the innocent. Their goal was to prevent war against themselves or their supporters. Targets were carefully selected, everything was planned, and more often than not, these were rulers and important officials. The order had a strict hierarchy that was surprisingly accurate in the games. Ar-Salah is a Rafika. This means that he has committed a murder and managed to survive. In the first game, the chief of the Damascus Bureau is called Rafiq. Now you know that this is not a name, but a status. The lowest position was called Fedayans. They simply perform murders. Salah's job was to instruct them. Higher up in the career ladder were the Dayas, who passed on the ruler's commands to Muhammad and his team. If Salah was successful, he will one day rise to the status of Dai al-Karbal. These were the elite of the assassins. They knew all the secrets, and together with the Old Men of the Mountain, chose the targets and policies of the state. Faith in paradise at this point almost completely faded away, and cold calculations came into play, since it was the dawn of the Crusades. Despite their humbleness and rejection of world's goods, assassins took their education seriously. Alamut had one of the best libraries in the world. According to historians, from an engineering perspective, the defense mechanisms of the fortress were 200 years ahead of their time. Persians and Seljuks attempted to take it plenty of times, but Alamut always remained unassailable thanks to secret passages and defensive structures. Oh, and also due to the fact that the army commanders were dying all of a sudden. However, even then, there weren't that many assassins, and the Sunnis pressed, when suddenly a very unexpected ally emerged, the Crusaders. Remember Al-Mawlim from the first game? He has a real-life prototype, Rashid ad-Din Sinai. Christians really gifted the assassins the fortress of Masyaf for their assistance in the fight against the Sunni ruler Saladin. After the old man Hassan passed away, the order lost its grip. There are records of at least 3 attempts to kill Saladin ending the war, but they all were failures. Later, the Christian ruler Conrad of Montferrat betrayed the assassins and pillaged their lands. Guess what happened next? That's right, Conrad woke up with a knife in his chest. But that did make a big difference for the impoverished land of assassins. Ar-Salah had to fight on two fronts, simultaneously taking commissions from both of the sides. Assassins on Saladin's orders killed European kings Raymond II and the Duke of Bavaria. In return, following Christian's orders, they shanked 6 viziers and 3 caliphs. It wasn't easy to sit on 2 chairs, but the guys managed. Only the Golden Horde in 1256 was finally able to destroy the state of assassins. This doesn't mean assassins became that weak. The Horde was an unstoppable force at the time. To give credit to assassins, they did their best to defend themselves. The last old man even tried to organize a couple of assassinations of the Horde's Khan. According to UN's estimates, the teachings of the old man Hassan are now preached by about 15 million people. Moreover, Prince Karim Aga Khan IV, a Swiss citizen, is a direct descendant of the last old man of the mountain. Karim met with the Queen of England and with Vladimir Putin, so technically, the Order of Assassins is alive and won't disappear in the near future, since the prince has 4 children. To say that our Muhammad Salah led a good life would be stupid. He was a murderer after all. But do not forget about one of the rules of this channel. Don't forget, those were harder times when murder was common. If we look at all this from another side, thanks to their tactics of point elimination, assassins created an unprecedented state that existed for several centuries. Before you leave, we have a few more facts for you. The phrase, "nothing is true, everything is permitted," doesn't belong to assassins. William Burroughs, a fan of assassins and Kurt Cobain, thought of it. The one who started romanticizing assassins was good old Marco Polo, who wrote down a bunch of myths, from the Paradise Room to claiming that Hassan's people committed mass suicides to prove their loyalty to their faith. Also, assassins had nothing to do with the Templars. They were never enemies. The game developers decided to include both orders in their story, but in reality, although they did exist in the same time period, they did not come into contact much. It is possible that 1 or 2 of the Templars died at the hands of assassins, but this was no more than a regular commission. Assassin's image was severely altered, exaggerated, and includes qualities from other mercenaries, like the Indian Thuggee Stranglers, whose history is also very exciting. However, this, along with the Templars, is yet another story for a future video. In the meantime, that's all we got. See you later, friends!